All right.
All right, I think we're good to go, Alan.
All righty. Okay, call to order the Bloomfield Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Committee to order December 16th, 2024 at 7:04 p.m. Present we have Paul, David, Kevin Wilcox, Adam, and myself. Um, is there a motion to bring the public hearing off the table for 17 Watkins Road?
So
The
moved.
motion should be to reopen the public hearing.
Reopen? Okay, reopen.
So moved.
Made by Kevin, seconded by
I'll second it.
Paul. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained. Okay. To the applicant, we only have 5 members. And our bylaws state that we have to have 4 in the affirmative to pass a motion, which means that if a motion is voted on and the vote is 3-2, it does not pass. So you have the option to push this over to the next meeting in hopes of getting more members. Do you want to move forward?
So can you promote Steve Temkin?
Yep.
Peter? So Steve, are you with us now?
I would still want to move forward.
Okay, thank you. All righty. All right, so Peter, where are we on this?
The applicant has submitted revisions to the plans to address some of the wetland commissioner's concerns from last time. And I think we should let Jim share his screen and go through with that.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. So for the record, my name is Jim Cassidy, a professional engineer and principal at the firm Halsey, Pearson and Cassidy at 630 Main Street in Cromwell, Connecticut. Here tonight representing Robeth Court. I have Steve Temkin with us this evening from Robeth Court LLC. Can you see my screen? Okay, good. So last month we were before you, at which time we presented our application, the revised plans after a little bit of a hiatus for a development, PLR development of property located on Watkins Road and Simsbury Road. We went through the whole presentation. At that meeting, commission members brought up concerns about the proximity. I'm just going to blow up on this site plan here. The proximity of our units number in 13 and number 14 in proximity to the wetlands that's just to the southwest or just down below it. In addition to, there was concerns about our 2 units here, 28 and 27, and that is proximity to Tumbledown Brook, which is off to the east side of the property. We went back through the plans. We've tried to make some modifications to increase separation distances. I will start with the color plan. In particular, for units number 13 and 14, what you'll see we've done, if I blow up on this area, is originally these 2 units had a bump out on the front section. We've eliminated that bump out. By doing that, it actually allowed us to slide these units 21 feet forward. In addition to, it allowed us to increase the buffering along the back portion by the 21 feet. So now at the closest point, we're about 30 feet to the clearing line. So there's a minimum of a 30-foot buffer in this area. In addition to, on the units number 28 and 27 on the front, our original plan for the access driveway in, we had an 18-foot wide driveway in and an 18-foot wide driveway out with a 10-foot island. We revised both of those, so now it's 12 in, 12 out. What we've done is we've taken the east side of the driveway, we've shifted it over 12 feet to the west. In turn, what that allowed us to do is take the units number 28 and 27, also slide them over 12 feet to the west. So there's still a portion, the orange line is the 200-foot upland review line from the watercourse, but there's still a small portion of the building that would be in that. But there's nothing within the 100-foot regulated area from the wetlands associated with that. At the last meeting, we also represented is that we would be willing to provide a conservation easement. Actually, I'm going to show you this one drawing first, just so you can see what's going on. So the red lines represent what you saw on the prior plan we submitted. So again, this is 13 and 14. So you can see they're pulled 21 feet back. And this little bump out on the front was eliminated. That allowed us to pull it 21 feet back. We went through, for planning wise, just so you know, we've also gone through some other revisions, and we revised a lot of the footprints to make them a bit smaller, trying to provide a minimum of 20 feet between the majority of the units in the entire development. There are a couple little pinch points. This corner here, these 2 points would be 16 feet apart. But as you start to go back in a very short period of length of time, or not length of time, length of the building, you actually increase substantially. At the midpoint of the garage, I'm at 22.6. By the time I get to the back corner of 13, I'm actually at 47. And that's similar in separation distance between 10 and 11. I'm 16 at the front, but by the time I get to the back of the garage, I'm 30. By the time I'm in the back of the building, I'm at 65. So we're able to increase the separation between buildings. And then similarly up front, you can see what's happened. The red line was the original road. As I mentioned, everything's shifted over 12 feet to the west, which allowed this unit to get pulled over 12 feet to the west. Along with this unit number 26, we actually rotated it slightly to pull the majority out of that 200-foot upland review area. In addition to, last time at the meeting, we committed to you that we would provide a conservation easement on the undeveloped portions of this property. We're looking at 2 conservation easements, what I've highlighted in green on this plan. So in the front along Simsbury Road, we are doing a upland review area restoration in this area. I showed you a landscaping plan where we have a very robust landscaping plan along the entire watercourse. In addition to the meadow, we are proposing to let it revert back to a meadow rather than a manicured yard. That conservation easement area A will consist of about 2.9 acres. And then at the southwest corner of the property, the area behind units 13 and then around the detention basin, we're all the way down to Overbrook Farm. We're also proposing to put into a conservation easement for another 3.1 acres. In total, we're looking at about 5.29 acres or 40% of the overall property into a conservation easement. So that's the major revisions we've made to the plan since last we met with you. We did actually stake out this line in the field. I personally walked it with Matt Davidson, our soil scientist, so I believe he's on here this evening also. Peter, can you let Matt in? See on there?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Can you let Matt Davidson in?
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't yet.
I'd like him to talk a little bit more what he found
Yep.
after we take out this limits of the conservation easement. Peter, I don't know if you have a chance to walk it and take a look at it.
Yeah, no, I did not. I did
Okay.
not.
But, it seemed to make a lot of sense in the field as to where this is. It's just
Yeah.
a transition
Okay.
between a mature forest and a secondary growth. It looks like basically it was maybe a meadow or something that's been overgrown. It's full of thickets for the portion that we are looking at developing, but the lines seem to be a good location to limit our development to. But I'll let Matt speak a little bit more to that. Matt, do you want to take it over?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jim. For the record, Matt Davison with Davison Environmental. As Jim mentioned, I had him stake the clearing limits behind those two units that were moved forward. And what we found is that the clearing limits generally follow along what is the wood line now, and that the area that would be basically cleared for those two units currently is an area of just dense shrubs and vines right now. Where the basin is, there were a few trees, but where those two units are currently, it's dense shrubs and vines. I probably have photos that I could have shared that might have helped. Maybe I could send one to you, Jim.
If you want to share, wait, stop sharing so you can share.
I don't have it on I don't have a photo on my computer yet.
Just text or email it to me real quick.
Yeah, let me do that.
Sorry.
While
Still
you're,
on?
while you're doing that, I just want to point out that Nadine has now joined the commission, so now we have 6 commission members.
Yes, hello, thank you.
Thank you, Nadine.
So the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I believe it was Kevin Hussein who brought it up at the last meeting, is again, I think it's always good to have an example of what something is going to look like as a final product, and what's a good comparison to other developments in town. And I keep on referring to that. I believe that what we're doing is we're going to be similar to what's on Still Mountain Estates. So what I did, and Kevin asked me to do it last time, was basically do an overlay of our project and compare it to Still Mountain Estates, which I've done on this plan. So our development's up on the top here, consisting of the 32 units. Again, the darker green areas are proposed conservation easements. What I found interesting is when you take a look at the bottom here, this is Still Mountain Estates. The heavily wooded areas are actually conservation easement areas that they have as part of their overall development. And I found it quite interesting as I went through the math. Their original, their overall development consisted of about 26.5 acres, of which they put about, looks like about 12.3, I'm sorry, 15.1 into a conservation easement. Their development consists of a total of 45 units. So if you actually take away the conservation easement area from the overall property area for what they have left for, we'll say a unit developable area, it actually worked out to an area of, or a unit density of about 3.9 units per developable acre. For our development, we have a total of 13.36 acres. We're proposing to give you about 5.29 acres, leaving us a developable area of about 8 acres with 32 units. And we ended up being almost exactly the same number, 3.9 per developable unit area. The only real difference between ours and theirs is the size of the units. If you take a look at a footprint in our development, the max is about 2,140 square feet, including the garage. For the Still Mountain Estates, their units typically are running about 2,400 square feet, including the garage. So they're running anywhere from about 300 to 200 about 200 to 300 square feet larger. But overall, I found it interesting that the overall density is very similar. Even the setbacks, if you blow up on the Still Mountain Estates, just to give you an idea, most of these units are set at a distance of about 20 feet. Even at the entrance, these two units are only 50 feet off the edge of the road. Our closest unit in this location here is 51. The next one is 75. So we're actually a little bit further back than they are in Still Mountain Estates. But once I went through the math, I kind of found it interesting that, we're not that much different. And to give an idea of what it's going to look like, I thought this was a good example. And this is something Kevin was looking for at the last meeting, so I was able to pull it together. Matt, did you send me those pictures? Okay, if you can, sorry. Boom.
Sorry, I texted him to you, Jim. Can you see him?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me just forward them to myself. Which one do you want me to start with, Matt?
It doesn't matter. All three are basically the same general area.
Computer's gonna be a little slow tonight. Here we go.
Could you admit Babatunde Agunru and Joe Duva also in case they want to say anything? They're on our team also.
It's taking a little bit longer than I thought. Start with this one, Matt. This one.
Yeah, so the pink ribbons, so if you go back to the other ones, the pink ribbons are the staked clearing limits. So you can see that's again the staked clearing limit right there. So the area beyond that is the area where those two units would sit, and you can see they're below the existing residence in an area that's essentially dense. It's for the most part honeysuckle and multiflora rose entangled with various vines, some native, some invasive. But the drawing, based on the drawing, it looked like there was forest being cleared for those two units, and I think a lot of times that's done just based on aerial interpolation where a tree canopy might extend into that area, but on the ground in the field, you'll actually see that those two areas, if you go to the next photo, Jim, shows it again. There's the clearing limit line, and that's what it looks like where those units would sit. And you could see vaguely in the background there the existing house that's there. So there's very little tree clearing. This is a pretty good view of this is standing just above the clearing limit line. So this is the area that would be where the two units would sit. There's also a lot of the shrubs you see in the foreground there are raspberry, which are native, but it's a combination of brambles, native and invasive shrubs entangled with native and invasive vines, essentially, but very few trees in that area. And the clearing limit line actually pretty much hugs the existing tree line right now. So it seemed to, make sense in the field. Difficult to see on the plans, but in the field it was pretty clear.
So with that, I think we can conclude our portion of the revisions that we made since last meeting, and we'll gladly answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you. Peter, anything for staff update?
Yeah, the commission should refer to my December 10th updated staff memo. This is an abbreviated memorandum compared to what I usually list. So what it does is it includes recommended conditions of approval, the criteria for decisions, and discussion of prudent and feasible alternatives. So because this let's see, where is that section? I'm sorry, I'm not finding it. Oh, the commission has to close the public hearing tonight because it's been extended already to beyond the normal time frame. So the commission does not have to act tonight. The commission should definitely close the public hearing, assuming that they feel that sufficient information has been submitted. So I'm not going to take it in order, but what and then last time I went through the criteria for decision, but some of the criteria have changed, or some of my responses or my comments on the criteria. So the criteria for decisions are, number one, the environmental impact of the proposed regulated activity. And this includes direct wetland impacts for the sanitary sewer and regulated areas in the upland review, regulated activities rather, in the upland review area in the southwest part of the property and in the easterly part or northeasterly part, in those areas that were just reviewed by Jim. Those are the two areas of regulated activity in the upland review. The applicant's purpose for and prudent and feasible alternatives. The applicant's purpose is to develop this property as a condominium development. Prudent and feasible alternatives to the proposed regulated activities appear to exist that would cause less or no environmental impact to wetlands and watercourses. Relocating, combining, or eliminating the proposed units closest to the wetlands to decrease or eliminate the regulated activities in these areas would also reduce environmental impact to the adjacent wetlands and watercourses, and are both feasible and I believe are both prudent. The third criteria is relationship between the short-term, long-term impacts. Short-term impact will be from the initial clearing and grubbing for the sewer. Long-term impact will be the loss of the existing mature forest within that easement and at the southwesterly stormwater basin. Maintenance of the long-term productivity will depend on the post-construction maintenance of the project, and a detailed plan for the post-construction maintenance is recommended as a condition of approval. Criteria 4 is irreversible loss of wetland resources and mitigation measures. There will be a small loss of wetland resources for the sanitary sewer and a loss of existing vegetation in the upland review areas and vegetative buffers. None of these activities will foreclose a future ability to protect or enhance such resources. Mitigation for the direct wetland watercourses impacts shall be provided in a ratio of 1.5 to 1 per the regulations. The newly proposed wetland restoration at the southwesterly wetlands is about 2,400 square feet, and the enhanced planted buffer at Tumbledown Brook is about 17,000 square feet. This is a ratio of more than 7 to 1 for the mitigation areas. That's the biggest change from last time. So criteria 5 is the character and degree of injury to reasonable use of property. And I see there should be no injury to or interference with safety, health, or reasonable use of property caused or threatened by the proposed regulated activities. Criteria 6 is impacts outside the area for the regulated activities, and I don't believe there are any activities that'll affect wetlands or watercourses outside the ones that are on the site, and no future activities are made inevitable. In my comments on page 9 concerning prudent and feasible alternatives, describe what was on the plans for units 33 and 35. I think, Jim, you called them 11 and 12.
Those are the street, you're referring to the street addresses, the unit numbers.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands which ones we're talking about.
Yeah, so they're actually
13
units.
and 14. Okay.
House numbers would be 35 and 33.
Yeah. And I recommended that these units be relocated or eliminated to maintain 25 feet of existing vegetation at the wetlands within the 50-foot buffer, indicating a smaller footprint for these units should also be considered. With the elimination or relocation of these units, there may be an opportunity to revise the outline of the stormwater basin within the same 25 feet. I believe they have addressed the concerns that the commission had and that I brought up about the separation of these units from the wetlands. They were 5 to 7 feet. Now I believe, Jim, you said they're 30 feet.
30
minimum.
feet at the closest point.
Okay. And
And that's.
there was also the possibility of, by moving these, and the last time around, we looked at moving them and how it might come close to the next unit over, I guess would be 15 for a unit number. But it looks like they've adjusted most of them a little bit all around so that that isn't a problem. I think trying to maintain that 20-foot minimum is a good thing, because that's going to be tight as it is, 20 feet. And I also suggested that they reduce the width of the road and shift the units 12 feet to the west, and they've done that as well. I also indicated that I think both stormwater basins should have a dedicated access way shown on the plans. We generally recommend a grass over gravel road so that it can be mowed, just like the lawns,
Sure.
but that it can withstand, moderately heavy equipment. Let's see, the conservation easements or restrictions that were discussed um, uh, included the southwesterly wetlands and the meadow area. Is recommended that the parcel at 19 Overbrook Farm, except for the MDC easement and stormwater basin, including all on-site wetlands, be included in the southwesterly easement, and I believe that's what they've shown. The east side, it's recommended that the easement include the planted buffer at Tumbledown Brook and easterly to Simsbury Road, and they've done that as well. I'm also recommending that there be some kind of a way to get to that meadow for the residents here, not as a public open space, but as part of part of this development. And certainly the access road to the meadow could also be the access road to the stormwater basin.
And we could accommodate an access road in the front of the project here, around the top of the berm or around the backside of the berm into that open space area.
Okay, that would be ideal. But again, it's not a gravel road through the project,
No.
but it's a grass planted over the gravel so that you can get there. The other thing concerning the conservation easements is to whom they're going to be dedicated to. Typically, they are dedicated to the town of Bloomfield, but I think it needs to be clear that that's what the intent is. They can also be dedicated to the land trust. Or I suppose they could be also dedicated to the future condominium association. But regardless, the dedication should be shown on the plans, to whom they're going to be dedicated to, and a easement document and maps will have to be filed on the land records. Okay, so my conditions of approval were modified in a couple of ways. One was regarding infrastructure improvements. It was number 16, recommended condition 16. All required infrastructure and improvements up to and including the binder course of paving shall be completed prior to starting any building foundations and clearly indicated in the construction sequence. That's how it initially read. I added the sentence in response to a request from the applicant that 2 or 3 specified model units may be started before, before the road is paved, so that they can get some units going and show them. or have them available for showing. So I added 3 new conditions of approval, starting on page 6. And I think that if the commission is okay with it, I think the first 2, number 27 and 28, have been addressed on the plans already. So that the commission may want to consider not including those 2 in a motion to approve. The last one there is concerning the conservation easements, and I think I kind of covered that stuff in my discussion about the conservation easements. So again, the commission should consider, I think should consider not including 28 and 27, but including 29 or possibly a modified 29. And I think that's it for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Peter. All righty, is there any public here? Anybody from the public? Okay, nobody from the public, okay. So any questions from the commission members?
I do have a question.
Okay.
So I do appreciate the effort you went through to adjust a lot of these things. I know we had talked about the possibility of eliminating those 2 units, but you did shift them, which was, I think, beneficial. Regarding the conservation easement, I know one of the in Peter's condition, which I agree with, there's also in putting pins and markings on the ground. I think this is important because I see a potential for people to sort of expand their backyard by mowing. Is there any, in your mind, is there any way to put an assurance in place that those signs will sort of be that'll be memorialized in a way? Because is there a way to make it so that it's an understanding?
Well, a few things. Number one, this isn't a regular single-family development where each property owner is responsible for maintaining their own yard. It's an association that be maintaining the yard, so that's going to reduce that potential for expansion of the backyard. That being said, what we typically do is put up a placard in a tree, but in this particular case, especially along that southwest corner, I don't think you have a lot of trees that we can put placards in. So what I would recommend to do is we put some type of a post, like a cedar post in the ground, with the placard on that, in addition to, as we find boulders throughout the site, what we typically do is we'll line the edge with some boulders, making it difficult for a lawnmower or such, because most lawnmowers for this development will be, like larger commercial style lawnmowers, to make it larger for them to get into that area and, have any damage to the conservation easement. And I'm sure we're going to find plenty of, just walking around, you see a lot of surface rocks around that we could, put boulders like on 4 feet on center, somewhere in that area. So you have less than a 4-foot opening between them. And again, it prevents those mowers from going into that conservation easement, prevents people from going into it.
Okay. That's good. I'm guessing probably the eastern would be more inviting for people to, or alluring for people to have expanded as a lawn than the western, because of the just all the sort of scrubbiness of on the western side. I'll kick it to Commissioner Wilcox, but I'm wondering about the your plantings in the areas where you're going to be clearing out. Was there any updates to the planting plan? Or are we?
I think Commissioner Wilcox mentioned some spelling mistakes that we had. So those have been updated on the final landscaping plan. But
Okay, so
otherwise,
no significant changes,
No.
just some minor.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. Yeah, my biggest concern in the last meeting was those 2 units on the western side.
Mhm.
I was more in favor of them being eliminated. But shifting them 20 whatever feet was 20 feet was definitely a good thing to do. My concern during the discussion last time about the feasible and prudent alternatives was that it wasn't definitive that the project couldn't move forward without them. That was sort of, I that's where I was sort of wavering in my thoughts on how to move forward with this, because it seems like, and it may still be the case, that the project could move forward without those units. But having them shifted, puts my mind at ease a little bit more.
I appreciate the time to go back and actually having us look at it too. Once we staked out that line and took a look at the conditions of the field, everything made a lot more sense, and shifting it that 20 feet, 21 feet made a lot more sense. So as Matt represented, it's just kind of a break there between mature forest and the overgrown scrub. And we're at that line, so we're not clearing any more mature forest. So I do appreciate the opportunity to allow the extra time for us to make that revision.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions, David?
Nope, that's it for me.
Kevin Wilcox, did you have some questions?
No, no questions.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Nope.
Adam?
No questions here. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Comments? No comments from the public? Nobody here. Any comments from the commission members?
I would just add, Mr. Chair, my appreciation for the thoughtful revisions that the applicants have made.
Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. And
I second Paul, what he just said.
thank you, Nadine. And yeah, I appreciate the fact that the applicant made the effort to work in the concerns of the commission.
Hmm.
All right.
Can I ask about a couple of the conditions on the letter there? If we were to, let's say, finish a unit in January, could we still get a CO somehow, even though the landscaping wouldn't be done?
Say that again?
I see a condition that says we can't get any COs unless the landscaping's completed. And, to the extent we finish a house, let's say we were finishing it this week. It's tough to get the lawn in, and you hate to have it just sit there till April till we can put a lawn in.
I don't think it was the landscaping, was it, Peter? You're muted, Peter. Still muted. Can't hear you, Peter.
Sorry
Oh.
about that.
Okay.
I said, I'm not sure if the condition of approval included landscaping. I thought it was infrastructure.
You're right. That's what I thought
And
too.
were you generally okay with being flexible when it comes to, units with that are ready to occupy, but they don't have their landscaping in the months where you can't put it in. So is it in one of the specific conditions, Steve, that you saw?
Hang on, I was looking at,
6, 7, and 8.
I'm on 9.
You're on which number?
9.
Number 9.
Probably should say what, weather permitting.
That would be okay, or we could take the word landscaping out.
Maybe patios also. Definitely.
Yeah, patios too. I mean, if the, you know, if it's January and there's 4 feet of snow on the ground, it's not gonna work, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I'd be okay taking landscaping and patios out or putting in season, but sidewalks are a safety thing and the driveway should certainly be, you
right,
know, should be there.
yeah, yeah, it should be at least the first course. That work, Steve?
Yes, that's very helpful there.
Okay.
Then I'm just wondering, I greatly appreciate that you're allowing us to get our model houses up. But let's say we're getting close to putting the road binder down. We have some people that, are giving us deposits and want to get started. Is there a way we could, have some benchmark that if like we're this far along, we could get started on some, other houses?
I was, I would say that, that's like a wait and see process. Um, it's really, I think that's up to town planner, wouldn't it be, Peter?
Well, it's a cooperative decision
Yeah, yeah,
between the building department and the town and the planning office.
yeah. I mean, if you're gonna, if you're putting a top course on the beginning of the road and people are ready to move in, you know, that may work, but yeah, so it's really all the departments have to coordinate it and agree. But
Okay.
it could be done. Um,
And then can I just ask about the conservation easement where you had talked about you wanted us to, I think, mow that meadow every so often? Is that true still?
They're being mowed annually is the proposal.
Like who would, if it's a conservation easement, is it still okay to do that or?
It would be written into the conservation easement.
the conservation easement are generally not mowed unless I'm mistaken. Peter, is that
Oh,
correct?
I
Yeah,
believe whatever.
typically, these are conservation easements are set up to maintain the natural conditions that are there. In one case, it's woods. In another case, over here, it's on the east side. It's going to be a meadow. The only way the meadow can stay a meadow is if it gets mowed once a year. So yes, that would have to be built into the language of the
Yeah.
easement.
Yeah, those maintenance measures would have to be spelled out in the conservation easement document as to what you can actually do.
But I don't think it has to be mowed every week.
We do not want it to be mowed every week.
Right.
That's
No,
the whole,
no.
Yeah,
that's
It'd
the
be
whole
mowed,
purpose.
it would be mowed once a year,
okay.
Correct.
typically in
Wouldn't
the fall.
Wouldn't that also depend upon who owns it? I mean, it still has to be maintained in whatever way it's supposed to be maintained. But if it's now owned by the land, the town or the land trust or whoever, then they're under the restrictions of that, the conservation easement.
Yeah, usually the conservation easements are given in favor of the town.
Right.
Um,
Is it possible to give in favor of the homeowners association for this development?
that's really a legal question.
I believe in your regulations, that's an option for
Okay.
like open space, so.
Peter, did you mention that a little while ago?
Yes.
Yes, I think that the options are that the easements can be dedicated to the town, or to the to the land trust or to the Property Owners Association, but I think everybody, I mean, these are easements, they're not land dedications. So even if it's an easement in favor of the town of Bloomfield, the homeowners association is going to have to do whatever is in the, the owner's side of the agreement.
Well,
In this
technically,
case, it'll be only annual mowing and maybe mowing a path down, to walk down by the river.
yeah. Yeah. So the association would still own it, but they give the
Yeah,
authority to the town.
right. The association is going to own it regardless of who the easements are
Okay,
in favor of.
all right. All right, any other comments or questions? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move to close the hearing.
Wait, Paul, wait 1 second. Is there any last words does the applicant want to give?
I just want to make sure that those conditions number 27 and 28 would be removed.
Right,
We got to close the public hearing first.
I know, but I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
okay, all right. Okay, Paul, now,
Okay, I move that we close the public hearing.
thank you.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor? Any
Aye.
discussion?
Aye.
Any discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right. Now, do we want to vote on this or do we want to push it off to next month? I don't see why we can't vote on it. I mean,
I would agree.
yeah.
I agree.
All right, so why doesn't somebody make a motion to approve the application with the noted changes in the list of recommendations by Peter?
I can give it a try.
Okay,
So let's see. I move that we approve the application with the conditions outlined in the wetland agent's memo.
wait a minute, Paul,
Yeah,
you have to state what the motion is for the approval for what application.
okay. Which is on here.
So 17 Watkins Road, you
Yep.
know, that stuff.
So I move that we approve the application for a wetlands permit for PLR development at 391 Simsbury Road, 17 and 21R Watkins Road, and 19 Overbrook Farms Road. And that we approve it with the conditions recommended by the wetland agent amended at tonight's meeting. And that is specifically to omit recommendations 27 and 28 as they have already been completed, and to include supplementary recommendation 29. And also note that on recommendation 9, we are striking the words landscaping and patios from the recommendation regarding certificates of occupancy.
I think we were gonna add weather permitting to that too.
I can do that. Number 9, recommendation number 9 be amended to omit the words landscaping and patios and to substitute weather permitting.
Okay, where do you want to put those, you want to take,
I would put it at the end, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, you could put it at the conclusion of the sentence that ends with activities. That could be comma weather permitting. But I think if I can look back at that for a moment, I think to remove the words landscaping and patios means we probably don't need to include weather permitting, because the road work and sidewalk work really has to continue. I think that was the substance of that conversation.
Okay, so take out the weather permitting.
Okay,
Thank you.
And, excuse me, I know the public hearing is closed, but can I just address Peter real quickly?
Go ahead.
I believe you said a date of November 8th. I believe it's actually December 9th with the final plans.
2 or 3 houses. You want them to do all 3.
okay.
So I'm
You
gonna
said- I'm sorry,
second
the latest revision date is December what?
9.
Number 9.
9th.
Okay, and thank you for bringing that to my attention, because you also brought to my attention that the commission needs to make that
Finding.
finding of no prudent and feasible alternatives. So you got to include that in your motion, Paul.
Okay, let's see. Can I simply ask that we add in that statement that we are satisfied that that there are no additional prudent and feasible solutions found?
Yes, it's a
Yes.
finding that the commission needs to make. It won't be a separate condition of approval.
Yeah, it's not condition of approval. It's, I guess, a statement that we, basically what we reviewed the plans, what the applicant has submitted, and that we find that there's no prudent and feasible alternatives.
To the plan as submitted today,
Right.
yeah, or
Right,
plan reviewed today.
right.
Okay,
Now, I will second the motion, but at the same time, I would like to ask Mr. Temkin if he agrees with all the conditions of approval,
yes, I think
because he
that,
needs to state that he understands it and that he agrees with them.
Right.
I saw the thumbs up, but I think we might need a verbal.
Yeah. Yeah, Joyce doesn't always get the thumbs up.
Yeah,
Um,
you're muted, Mr. Temkin.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yes, I approve of those.
okay, thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you very much for working with
Oh,
us.
hey, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah,
We
we're-
vote on it.
we
All right.
Okay, I'll hold back my thank you for now. Okay.
Anything else from the, on the motion there? Okay, so we got it seconded. Okay. So any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, abstain. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you
patience
very
with
much.
us. I know there were a couple of months it was our fault it was delayed, but
No problem. Thank you for working with us.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All
Great.
right. So what else we got?
So
We
that
got-
was good.
Okay.
I'm glad we did that.
Yeah,
I was gonna recommend not continuing it to the next meeting, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So we don't have any new applications for the commission. But I have had more than a few for wetland agent permits. Since we met last, I've received applications for a new truck lane at Niagara Bottling Site at 380 Woodland Avenue, residential addition at 2 Fox Chase Road, canopy for the Gillette Ridge Golf Course driving range, and hopefully Bloomfield's first accessory dwelling unit at 12 Lynn Circle. So there's a lot of wetland agent permits, on the not on the table. They're in the pipeline. That's what I'm trying to say. And I seem to keep getting more of them. This morning I spoke with a gentleman who's building a house, and he's going to be expanding rebuilding his house, I should say. And he has the opportunity to put in a gravity feed footing drain. But he's going to have some regulated activities in the upland review area. So even though his house is outside of the 200-foot regulated area, the footing drain outfall will be. So he's going to be coming in, but I haven't received that one yet. I can give a brief status of ongoing projects just from memory. I assume everybody can see that the library is moving along. They actually got some pavement down on the old lumberyard side of the brook, and they seem to be moving along okay. I'm not sure if they're ahead of schedule or not. But the other projects that are happening include the Abbey Court project at 1121 Blue Hills Avenue. There's some new condos being built there. They haven't yet, I think, cut into Blue Hills Avenue for the utilities, but they've got 4 or 5 foundations going. One of the reasons I included that condition of approval regarding having the infrastructure built up before you start building the houses came from some issues that we had at this location on 1120 Blue Hills Avenue with the same developers that just got approval tonight. And the issue really comes down to timing and how these developments are built. Usually the first thing that goes in the ground is the big stormwater facilities. In that case, it was a large stormwater pond. The next thing that goes in from the developer's point of view, they want to get the foundations in the ground. But then there's always conflict between the foundation work and subsequent, plumbing, electrical, carpentry trades for the new unit. And while they're still trying to put underground utilities down in front of the house. So it makes sense in my opinion, it makes sense to have your underground utilities already in the ground. Then you start your foundations. So what's happening and what has happened on other projects is that it doesn't work that way, and there's often a lot of not physical conflict, but there's a lot of people at cross purposes because your infrastructure is working now around the buildings or around the foundations rather than having it all in place. But regardless, there is a way to do it properly. From a strictly construction point of view, doesn't make any sense to start foundations before you have a road. From the developer's point of view, it doesn't make any sense not to have foundations, no matter what the status of the road is, because that takes the longest to build. And so, anyway, there isn't a whole lot else going on. I think I mentioned that the apartments at 20 Jerome are occupied and full, I believe. They certainly got a CO recently. So did the new gas station at 1301 Blue Hills Avenue. But I can't think of any others right offhand that are active. Though I'm sure there are some. Do you guys have any questions about the ongoing projects?
No, I have no question. Anybody else?
No.
So, Peter, I think it was a couple of years ago, on Route 178, right by the power lines, right before we get into Windsor, I had noticed that there was some mowing that was done right through a wetland. And I remember you followed up with it. I don't remember what the outcome was, but somebody had cleared, it almost looked like it could be a new path for a connection to a road, and that wasn't the case. But I noticed that recently that was mowed again, and that goes through a wetland. I don't remember who you said it was originally, if it was town or if it was private or what the case was.
Okay, give me the location again?
Yeah, so it's on 178, right before the Windsor town line, by the power lines. There's that one house that's sort of like an island of its own, that's just past the Jehovah's Witness, whatever building. So going towards Windsor. And then there's I don't know the road, but behind all that, behind that sort of island island house, there's another development back there.
Yeah, I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
so a few years ago, I noticed that somebody mowed it, and you looked into it, and you reported back to us, and I don't remember what the report was, and nothing's happened since then, which is good. It's grown back, but then it looks like somebody's mowed it again recently.
Yeah, it's just by the cul-de-sac on Alexander Road. That's
Okay,
what's
yeah,
further
yeah.
east.
Yep.
I'll take a look. There is a town storm drainage facility over there.
Okay, so it could have
That-
to do with the easement.
Yeah, it could be the town. But I'll take a look.
Yeah.
That's Park Avenue. I was thinking Blue Hills at first. I was thinking, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So that's, yeah. Okay.
Well, it's at Wittenberry and Bloomfield, and then Park in Windsor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very true. And East Winterbury.
Yeah, East Wittenberry.
Okay. Okay. Anybody
Peter,
have
any follow-up on Wilcox property? The road and his permit?
Yeah, I did put in a call to the folks there, Modern Materials. I tried to I left them a message that there was mud on the road and they needed to, scrape the road and maybe put some silt sacks in the catch basins out there. I also tried to contact the folks at DEEP, but I didn't get very far with those guys. So I'm still following up on it. There was some question about whether their planning permit had expired or if the property had been sold, but I don't know the answers to that. Our assessor's records don't indicate a recent sale, but maybe there's a separate operator in there.
Yeah.
And I am following up with zoning on that too, because that might be more of a zoning thing than a wetlands.
Yeah. Well, we had permitted him to take so many loads in and mix it with what was there and then take so many loads out. And I thought he was supposed to be done by a long time ago.
Yeah. I
Yep.
will, continue on that one because it's not going away. And I think you're right. It's probably, time that site is, the work there is completed per those permits.
Right. All right. So what do we got? Approval December 3rd meeting?
Yep.
Is there a motion and any changes or corrections?
I have a few changes
Okay.
or additions. Take your pick.
Hey, I'm sorry, before you get started, again, I just want to recognize that I came in a little late. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. That's Kevin Hussein.
Okay.
He missed all the good stuff.
Yeah, I do apologize. I had a project deadline that was running late.
That's fine. We talked about you the whole time you were gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch this. It was good.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Wilcox, did you have some changes to the minutes?
Yes, in the roll call for absent, you should have also included Nadine Tobin.
Yeah.
What, tonight's meeting
No, in the
third.
draft of the
on December 3rd?
minutes. Yeah, December
Yep,
3rd minutes.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Now, on
Okay.
page two,
Two.
the very first paragraph, if you look to the right side of it and go up to the second sentence there, or the second line, you see the word reduce. It should have a D at the end of it. It should be reduced.
First paragraph at the top of the page?
Yeah, on page 2.
Actually, it's it's the first full paragraph.
It's the
and
first
it's
full paragraph. Mr. Cassidy is the start of it. And if you look to the right, at the end of the line, second up from the bottom of that, it has the word reduce.
Could be reduced, said, yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Now, page 3. Let's see if I have this right. Okay, so apparently I asked about the removal of the seed bank in the area proposed. You have R, A-R-E, should have an A there.
yep. Okay,
Now, there's something else I was thinking about. I didn't take note of it. I'm going to leave it at that.
I've got one more. Maybe it was the one you were looking for. On page 4, in the public questions, second paragraph, Mr. Cassidy stated they are lowering the grade. You have lowing.
Oh, yeah.
it's like a cow, huh? Lower.
You know, I saw that and didn't register.
Any other changes or additions? All right.
One other one on 5. I'm not sure about this one. It may be the way you phrase this, and I just haven't noticed it. But in the second paragraph, Mr. Mara, it begins with Mr. Mara. Second line would be applying for a retroactive permit, or is it just for retroactive permit?
No, missed it should be A.
Okay. That is it for me too.
Okay,
So,
So actually, I remember what it was that sort of irked me a little. And maybe it's my own fault, seeing as how under the public comments period, Commissioner Wilcox observed that the former Wilcox Trucking, and then in parentheses, not related to Commissioner Wilcox. I need to stop saying that. I'm not sure that should be in the minutes.
I think that's fair. You don't want to have
Yeah.
any
keep saying it.
confusion.
All right. Okay. I'll let that go.
okay.
Any other changes? So,
I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
okay, thank you. Second,
Second that.
second by Paul, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
Do we get 6 or 7 affirmative votes on that?
Kevin Hussein is muted.
Okay,
No, I
We
said
got-
yes. I said aye.
Oh,
okay.
so we got 7.
Wow, okay. That's good. Yeah, under the next item on special or other business, I should say. The Planning Commission, in their wisdom, agreed to meet on a day before wetlands in January.
Say that
So
again?
Typically we have a wetlands meeting and then the planning meeting happens later in the same month, right? So you guys voted in November to approve the calendar, and then planning and zoning voted to do the same, and they put their January meeting in front or before the wetlands meeting. So if we had extended that public hearing again from that first item for tonight, I would have recommended that we have a special meeting in the second week of January. But we don't have any new applications. We don't have a continued public hearing. So we're just going to keep it the same date.
So our next meeting is what, the 21st?
Yes.
Next meeting is Tuesday, January 21st. Yep.
Okay.
Which would have been, I think, 37 days or something like that after tonight,
Yeah.
or 36 days. So it wouldn't have qualified, as a day for the public hearing to be extended anyway. But we don't need to change it. We're not going to change it.
Good. Because TPZ would have had to move their meeting.
Maybe. We don't have, we only have Kevin Hussein from planning tonight. I don't know if
Yeah,
they're.
so
they
yeah,
wanna do that.
we don't, yeah, not a
Yeah.
problem.
Sure.
Okay. He agreed to it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Thank you all for making the effort. Thank you, Adam. I hope we entertained you for a while.
Yeah,
Your
safe
flight's gonna go
travels
long
home.
time? Adam is in the airport, yeah. 9
After-
hours he's been there.
Yeah.
Well, by this time, it's 10 hours or more.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
I think the Wi-Fi cut out on me. I rushed my gate now. So
Okay.
oh, good.
All right, good.
Thank you,
for
folks.
making the effort. All right. All
Safe
right, is there a
travels
motion
home.
to
and,
adjourn?
So
I'll move
moved.
to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous. Thank you. Peter, you gotta shut off I can do,
Yep. Hold on.
All right. Good night. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
everyone-
Yep.
Aye.
Happy
Aye.
holidays to you too.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Happy holidays all.
Night.
Good night.